most important success that I've had is the ability to be able to see beyond the probable and plausible outcomes from my life. Growing up as a poor kid, my mom having me as a 15-year-old sophomore in high school, my father being killed when I was 3 years old, 10 of us living in a three-bedroom trailer. So, but I was able to see beyond that. I can get a full football scholarship, that I can go to a Stanford University. And I believed it before there was any evidence to suggest that I could.
Welcome to Engage Presents. I'm Engage co-founder and president Jake Olson. In this interview series, I ask Engage talent the most common questions we hear from event planners to help you get to know them and their stories in 15 minutes or less. Thanks for listening. Welcome to another episode of Engage Presents. I'm Engage president Jake Olson. Alongside me today, a very cool, accomplished gentleman, Damon Dunn, a former NFL player, multi-unit franchisee, and a Stanford Hoover fellow. I'm a Trojan there, Damon, so we'll skip right past that.
I won't hold that against you.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's all right. But look, you're a successful man, and that's why I really want to start with you. You've been successful on the field, off the field, in entrepreneurship, real estate. I want to ask you, what success are you most proud of?
It's the success to be able to, you know, when you grow up where I grew up and you're around a lot of poor people and no one's been to Stanford, no one's been to Harvard, no one's been to NFL, no one's been a CEO, there's no doctors, no lawyers, no small business owners. The most important success is you have to believe that the probable and likely outcomes for your life are not accurate. You have to be able to see beyond the probable and the plausible and see what's possible. What I would say is you have to become a possibilitarian. And if you can't see beyond the plausible and possible, the expectations that you're going to have are going to be so low. And the people that didn't get out of the trailer park that I got out of, they had low expectations and met them. And notice that I didn't say that they had zero expectations. They had low expectations and met them. So to me, the most important success that I've had is the ability to be able to see beyond the probable and plausible outcomes from my life. Growing up as a poor kid, my mom having me as a 15-year-old sophomore in high school, my father being killed when I was 3 years old, 10 of us living in a three-bedroom trailer. That kid, it wasn't likely that I was going to be on this doing this interview with you right now. So, but I was able to see beyond that. I can get a full football scholarship, that I can go to a Stanford University. And I believed it before there was any evidence to suggest that I could. And there was no evidence of anyone else having achieved that around me. And so I had to believe it where the path was not there. And that to me is the most important success.
Yeah, that's amazing. Where did you find that competitive drive in an environment that, was less than competitive? Or, where did you kind of find that motivation?
That's a great question about competitive drive. I would say this, it's less competitive drive, and I'll tell you because a lot of people in my environment they were very competitive. They were just competitive about the things and the environment that we were in, right?
Mm.
And so they couldn't see that they could go on to a Stanford University, and they couldn't see that they could become a CEO. But if we're playing sports, they're very competitive, right? If we're playing poker, they're very competitive. And so I wouldn't, say that I'm more competitive than anyone else, and that's what differentiated me and allowed me to get out of poverty. What I would say is that the most important element to it was that my grandmother, she raised me because my mom was a 15-year-old sophomore in high school. And so she took me on and raised me. And she started telling me, hey, you're really smart. And you're going to be the first person in our family to get to go to college. And you're going to be the one to get us out of here. And when you get us out of here, I want to make sure you send all your cousins. So all of your moms, brothers, make sure you send all their children to college. And I believe in you. And one day I started to believe what my grandmother was telling me, and that was the difference. Someone was sharing this message to me that I was special, that I could do things that were beyond the plausible and probable. And eventually I began to believe her. And so I would start by saying this, that life and death is in the power of the tongue. If you speak thoughts, you bring those thoughts to life. Another way of saying it, Confucius says, he who thinks he can and he who thinks he can't, they're both right. The Pygmalion effect says that if you are around people that have higher expectations of you, then you're likely to meet those expectations. If you hang around people that have lower expectations than you, then you're likely to meet those expectations. The Bible says a companion of wise men grows wise, but a companion of fools is destroyed. My grandmother would say, if you sleep with dogs, you wake up with fleas. At the end of the day, it all comes down to, what information is coming into your mind and into your heart and what impacts what you believe. And so that is very critical. The messaging that I received when I was younger allowed me to be able to start believing that I could.
That's Thank you for sharing that. I mean, that's incredible. What does that mean to you today, to be able to go share that message with, maybe a person or a child who hasn't been told that in life all the time, or maybe ever, and you get to be the one to kind of start turning that wheel of belief.
Yeah, when I speak with people, that is my goal. My goal is always to inspire hope in them. And I don't mean generic hope. I mean the kind of hope that makes you believe that you can achieve what you want to achieve, because that's what makes a difference. The wealthiest place in the world is the cemetery. And I say that tongue in cheek, but it is because we get ideas or we get dreams. And what ends up happening is that for whatever insecurity, what we tell ourselves, they die right there before we ever start taking first steps, right? There's people die with books that were never written on the inside of them,
Mm.
companies that were never started on the inside of them, positions never pursued, relationships never pursued. And why? Because, well, I'm black and they're never going to let me be a CEO, or I'm a woman, I can't go raise $25 million to open up 35 Dunkins, or I'm too small, or no one's going to care about my ideas. We have the insecurities and we have to break through those insecurities, because if we don't, then what ends up happening, you die with all that on the inside of you. So my goal is to walk into a room and to spark that flame to say the things that are in your imagination, and this isn't hocus pocus, that's your assignment in this life. You were given that. The universe gave you that. And that's what you're supposed to go out and to create. But what has happened is that you have given up the throne of your imagination, and algorithms and the people that you're around and somebody else's expectations of you have limited what you think you can achieve. But you've got to start understanding that you got to become sovereign, that you have to decide that the things of my imagination I'm going to go after. And those people, I'm telling you, man, manifesting is real. The people who know who they are and they know where they're going and what they want, and they create short-term goals and they start putting together a plan and they go after it in a maniacal way, those people end up getting to where they say they're going to go and being who they say they're going to be. And so I try to spark that flame to let you know, hey, look, you don't see it, but you got to believe it. And if you believe it and it's in your imagination, you can hold it in your hand.
I love that, man. That's powerful. Let's talk about, you as a business person talking to other businesses. How much of you, bringing in daily execution or being able to sustain and high performance throughout, different jobs. Like, how much of that are you bringing into your speech?
Uh, the thing that I'm bringing for business is the most important part of my delivery. What I learned in business is that there is another human being on the other side of every opportunity that you want, and they have some formula that makes them say yes. And you have to figure out what makes them say yes before you actually get to that meeting. And so if you want to go to Stanford, an admissions officer has to say yes. If you want to run a business and you want to, raise $25 million, equity partners have to say yes. Underwriters have to say yes. And business has helped me be able to put together the formula to define the yeses before I actually get to meetings. And so during the entire process for a keynote, I'm working with the certified meeting planner, I'm working with the bureau agent, and I'm asking questions about what are you trying to accomplish strategically. I'm researching their company. I'm understanding what organization I'm coming to. Is it going to be the sales kickoff meeting? Okay, what were the sales like last year? What are you trying to accomplish this year? And how can I fit into that messaging, and then make sure that I get you that yes that I'm putting together for everyone that's in your audience. And so that to me is the most important part of my keynote speaking, is putting it together so that I know everyone that's in that audience, they're in agreement and they understand, hey, look, this is the direction we can go. We can receive inspiration from this.
Love it. Lastly, honestly, the answer you gave earlier about just, putting belief into people, and that's so powerful. But if if that is the answer to this, that's fine. But is there something like one takeaway, one action item that you want to leave your audiences with to go home?
Yeah, the number one action item is this: he who thinks he can and he who thinks he can't, they are both right. The things that are in your imagination, those are the things that you're supposed to go and you're supposed to accomplish. And what we've done is we've given up our ability to be creators, right? We have a subconscious mind and we have a conscious mind, and everything between ages 2 and 7, and all the books that you've read and all the people that are around you, it's primed it to make you believe kind of what you believe. And it's kind of set expectations, your family, your socioeconomic status, your race, your ethnicity, your gender. All of these things are creating an environment where have expectations that are set. You have to come and take control. You got to decide, no, my poverty doesn't dictate, the outcomes for my life. No, just because I didn't have a father doesn't mean that I can't go to Stanford or I can't start a business. I am going to take control of the outcomes in my life. I am sovereign, and I declare independence from algorithms. I declare, independence from my environment. I decide what I read. I decide exactly what ideas I pursue. I decide where my attention and my time goes. And as I've done that, that's allowed me to walk into all the dreams that I've decided to pursue. I don't believe the environment. I create the environment.
I love it, Damon, man. That's powerful stuff. We can absolutely see how an audience would just leave with a new insight, new belief in themselves. So we appreciate what you do. We appreciate the message you give. If you want to check out Damon's story, obviously book him. You go to letsengage.com and do that. But Damon, we surely appreciate the man you are and the message you give.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate your time. Thank you guys for having me.
Absolutely. Stay tuned for more Engage Presents.